IVM.
Adulthood is tough, but managing your credit card bills is even tougher.
And to make life easier, I would just say download Cred and just participate in the Power Play contest Cred is running right now. You can pay your credit card bills in the Power Play overs during IPL and you can win 100% cash back and more. Honestly, guys, I've been waking up and just scrolling on Cred and seeing what discounts I can get and what I can buy and where I can travel on Cred deals. Honestly, get on it.
Tash,
Yeah.
work-life balance.
Yeah.
You've come dressed up today.
Hardy. I told you now I was testing a liquid eyeliner which had kind of started to leak. So it was leaking because I guess it had been thrown around inside a pouch. So I just wanted to make sure it was okay. So I cleaned off the excess and just tried it out. And then I thought, chalo, let's do some eyeliner.
Yeah, it's looking nice. Have
Then
you
I put
done
on-
it differently between the two eyes?
Absolutely. Without trying to. It just became different.
I think not that eye, the other one.
Yes, it's
Point to
better.
the other one.
Left
This-
eye.
Yes, your left eye is better.
I know. Because I don't know. Now anyway, putting eyeliner, I've not put eyeliner in like years, I feel.
I was cleaning my bathroom shelves today and I was looking at my makeup and I was like, man, I have not put any of this in a year. Like I've not touched eyeshadow. I have not
Oh.
touched like a contour or like anything. I haven't used any of that stuff. I've used maybe like some concealer for like a couple of times gone up, but other than that, nothing.
Yeah, I realize the actual basic makeup kit is very basic. One does not need more than a cheek tint, lip
4
balm, and
products.
mascara.
4 products
Three.
and you can get away with
You
life.
need an eyeliner, kajal, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Cool then. Yes,
right.
continue. Please continue, please.
No, I was saying, but no, we are going to have a skincare episode. So this all is going to be in that episode, which I cannot wait for. As you know, a little bit of an obsessed skincare person. But that is not this week's episode. This week's episode is about something that I do not have and you now have too much of.
I don't even know where I am in this episode's topic.
So we wanted to talk about work-life balance because once again, structure, regularity, schedules have kind of flown out of the window because I don't know when you're listening to
Yep.
this, but we are recording on Saturday, the 17th of April, which means we are still in the middle of a second lockdown. Would you call this 2.0 or is this like 20.0, 30.0? I don't know. I can't keep track, but
The big lock, yeah, it's the biggest lockdown of 2021 as
yes.
of now.
Yes, as of now.
As of now.
That's so depressing.
But yeah, honestly, the situation is grave, as we know. We can't really we can't complain. The lockdown is necessary, I suppose. We are at home.
Right. I don't think we can't say that we can't complain. There seems to be enough to complain about.
That way, yes.
But-
Way, yes.
We're not going to make too much of a fuss about having to be in a lockdown because as two privileged individuals who have safety, house, food, parents, loving community, we don't have much to complain about. You're right. But we wanted to talk about work-life balance because something that anyway, I think was a bit of a plague for young adults in this phase. Like we seem to be talking about work-life problems and the balance way more than say people in our parents' generation used to talk about. I think that first of all, anyway, has been a huge issue for people in our generation. And then on top of
Yeah.
that, with this lockdown since March of 2020, we've seen even the little bit of, say, separation of church and state that you had completely collapse.
Yeah.
And there were some professions, I think, that weren't able to have that demarcation at all. And then there were some which maybe you feel more aligned with, is that you had no idea whether you would have regular work or not.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of, and speaking specifically to an Indian audience, there was a survey that was done in 2019. So, okay, it was a year ago, but again, the responses aren't great, so I can share it. More than half of Indian working professionals rate their current work life balance average to terrible. And this was a study done, yeah. And the study was done by monster.com. And
Nice.
they polled working professionals, and they did make sure to ask people outside of the metros, because close to 45% of the respondents in this survey were from outside the non-metro cities.
Oh,
So they tried to keep it very big city as well as smaller city,
Everywhere.
second and third tier as well.
Tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Exactly. So collectively 67% of India's working professionals either sometimes, often, or always think about work when not at work.
Yaar, kya yaar? 60 to what? 60%?
67% of working professionals in this country are basically always thinking about work, even when they're not at work. And about half of the respondents in relationships confess that the lack of work-life balance makes them or their partners irritable or ill-tempered.
Yes, this is bound to happen.
And this continues. The bad news continues. Stress-related physical illnesses that these group of people had tick-marked were lack of sleep, depression, anxiety and irritability, hypertension, back pain, frequent headaches and fatigue, and obesity. All of these things came up in the common illnesses suffered by the people that have basically said that they have struggles with work-life balance.
And they're working too much and not living healthy lifestyles because of the pressures at work, maybe, or the lack of support system to support a wholesome living outside of the work.
Right. And the thing was that people, specifically again through this survey, the question that when asked what work-life balance meant to them, which is very interesting. Now, this is a very interesting answer for COVID reasons, is that when asked what work-life balance means, flexible work hours was the number one response from people. Because the real challenge that about 45% of respondents thought was the fact that they were not able to do the work at times that were convenient to them or their personal life. And that's where the struggle was. So,
has that changed now?
In fact, that was what actually interested me the most out of all of this. I mean, like, look, 20% of the people said that if they could take more time off, it would help their work-life balance. 60% of the respondents said that if they spent less time commuting, their work-life balance would be easier. So all of these things, I would say, have been able to be factored into this COVID response cycle, because you gained back your commute time. A lot of people gained back their commute time by working from home. You also felt that the entire idea of taking time off because everyone was at home, again, that whole section went out because you couldn't travel, right? Once again, you weren't able to move around. But this idea of flexible work hours, which should have been something that helped us or could have been addressed or fixed in a COVID situation where you were working from home, that should have relieved a lot of stress on people, because a lot of companies had, whether they were genuinely wanting to do it or not, I felt that they were forced to give some sort of support to their employees at home in terms of
mental health support.
I wish. I don't think mental health support, but more like they understood that you're at home, so you have kids, so there's going to be noise. There's going to be like, I need to first put my kids on school. I need to make sure that their Zoom is on. And I think a lot of companies went out of their way to make sure that their employees were supported at home in whatever way that they could. But it hasn't actually helped, because studies done at the end of 2020, which were just, again, 1 year studies, so you can't say that they were very conclusive, but they were just asking people based on what they've experienced in the last year. Work-life balance has reduced. And that was because of the complete breakdown of this separation between your professional and personal life, because now your professional life had invaded your personal life even more.
Yeah.
And so that was just something that was interesting to me, but also painful, because as someone who works in the same organization as my father, and he works at home, our work-life family balance has just completely gone off the scales, completely. And it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
Yes, I'm listening to you. I'm with you. So, work and life and balancing it. I've recently spoken to somebody and they were like, yeah, but what is work life balance? Why are you looking for a work life balance? That way, there are not only two aspects to life, they're not just work and then what is life.
Yeah.
So, the question I am positing here is balance. Is it only between work and life, or is it between a bunch of other things also?
I think the idea definitely of having the phrase of work-life balance was for ease of phrase. I don't think there was a way to make a phrase called work-life, love, friendship, passion balance,
Home maintenance balance.
cleaning
So because
balance.
work may clean, yeah, because now I'm thinking from a point of view like work is also going to include like calling the plumber, getting the light fixed, getting the gas cylinder, making sure the AC is serviced. All of these things will now, for me, if I'm looking at it, I'm not only looking at work as a place you go to earn the money. I'm looking at all of these other parts of adulthood that come into the work sector.
And that's definitely something that was what a lot of respondents felt on studies that were done at the end of 2020, which was that there's not just work in terms of my job. There is now
Yes.
work in terms of caregiving. There is full-time caregiving. There is work in terms of there was no domestic help for a lot of people because it was not feasible anymore. There was also no place to drop off your children or have the idea of babysitting or even family members helping you manage certain household work. So you're absolutely right that even the line between work and responsibility started blurring and becoming one big blob.
Yeah. Correct.
And so life kind of, that it's a weird visual, but when like a magnetic liquid is near something that's magnetic, that is attracted to magnets, and it just kind of absorbs it as it's going, and it just becomes a bigger blob as it moves. I feel like that's what happened to the idea of work. Everything suddenly became work.
Yeah.
Even your relationships, even your personal life, your friendships, it all became work because they required so much more maintenance than they did before.
I have a question. So when we
Please.
speak of work-life balance, now to really like zoom out, are we looking at work as things which make us adult? And are we looking at life which makes us feel free and childlike again? Are these the two feelings we are looking at when we talk about work and life separately?
I know.
I don't know. It's just a question. I'm putting it out there for even like we can talk about this with our listeners.
No,
also.
of course we can. It's a valid question. I'm silent because I'm stumped a little bit. But the idea
Is
that
it the things that make us feel pressured, stressed, responsible, or having to deliver, or just be a functional adult when things are demanded of us and we're supposed to, well, you have to show up, you have to do the job. So whether that is being there for your parents as an adult child or being there for a friend who's going through something. So maybe the less charming or happy feel giving parts of life, are those now work for us, and are the lazy moments where we get to scroll in incessantly and eat a yummy meal and have a drink and watch the sunset and laugh and talk to friends and watch films, is that where we feel joy and we're like, हाँ वही मेरी life है, बाकी सब काम है. So this is just, these are my questions because I'm really confused about whether there is such a thing as work-life balance. I've just been in that conundrum.
I thought that when we thought about the episode, I thought we were going to talk about it more in terms of like, here are some jobs that have no ability to have work-life balance, or here are some fields where you don't have a choice but to make a concerted difference between work and life. And like the difference between the way you and I work, like it's, we have a very different approach to our work. And it's not to say that one is more professional or less professional than the other. It's just a completely different space.
Yeah.
But the question that you're asking now, which is to kind of reopen the idea of what comes under the domain of work and what comes under the domain of life.
That's genuinely a question.
That's a whole other thing. That's valid.
So even I'm doing that only. But basically,
Excellent.
my dad is a doctor. So unka work hai, when you go, you meet the patients, you give them medicine, you do the procedure, you come home, and then you eat your meal and you watching TV. That's your life.
That's life.
Correct?
Yeah. That's
for me, okay, on a day where I've gone to shoot, I've gone to work, quote unquote, and then I come back home and I have a shower, I decompress, I chat with you. That's life. But on an everyday basis, there are moments that you spend, say, enriching yourself about your work.
Yeah, where does that go?
Where does that go? And I'm not saying this is my whole big thing that I don't want to separate. While it is important to see, now I'm going to bring in what my therapist told me most recently is compartmentalize.
Love my secondhand. This portion of the episode is brought to you by secondhand therapy.
Secondhand therapy tells you today to compartmentalize. Which anyway, I feel for like somebody like me who is in the freelance biz
space, yeah.
And my work is so I'm an artist, as we know. I look, I feel, I watch the flowers. I like
watch the flowers. Did you say
I watch
the flowers?
I watch the leaves and I smoke and I relax and I look at the sunset and I feel things. This is part of my work. Making love is part of my work.
Okay. Amelie.
This is true though. That's the thing. I have different problems of balancing work and life. Whereas for me, like my problems are more mental. The working of the brain has to be preserved. That's the balance I'm constantly striving for. How can you balance your healthy, professional, productive thoughts with the unhealthy, destructive thoughts, whether they bother your life or your work or any aspect of your living? Assuming everything in your life is geared to make you the best version of yourself. So you go to work, you do your job the best way you can because you want to be good at it. You want to make money. You want to provide for your family or you want to live a certain quality of life.
Right.
All of these things are feeding in to your sense of self-worth, to the life you're creating for yourself as an adult, to the way you view the world and the way society views you, and basically how you feel about yourself. Somewhere your self-esteem is also tied into all of these things.
Yeah.
ठीक है? Problem कहाँ हो रहा है?
Is because this part is life. What you are describing, the stuff that you're supposed to be working, that's life. It's just that it's coming from work.
Compartmentalizing is the answer. I think I could be entirely wrong, but that's the thing, na. It's so
because Forbes 6 tips for maintaining better work-life balance. Number 4 is having demarcations, like very clear-cut lines between certain parts of your life, which is basically compartmentalizing. But
correct.
Forbes also the list puts it more in terms of prioritizing, like to have buckets of non-negotiables and negotiables.
Yes.
So say your partner, your family, your children, maybe your close circle of friends should come in the bucket of non-negotiables where no matter what, you have to find a way to create time for them. And that you have to, when you are with them, you have to value that time above all else, above work, quote unquote work.
Yeah.
Then there are other things in your life, which I think go into this thing of when you're reading, but you're not reading so much for pleasure, but you're reading for to sharpen your ability to be better at your job.
Yeah. Like Ayushi, you reading the news and you reading things about work-related, commodity-related trade stuff. It's not because, I love to read and chill like this, so I love to hang loose like this. No.
Because if you're telling me to read for pleasure, I think I would not have picked up a lot of the books that I currently read. However, making sure that I'm doing this reading and making sure that I'm putting in the time does make me better at my job. And that does
And
provide
you get
a sense
pleasure from there.
Yes, I do get pleasure from that step, from that accomplishment. So I think you're right. I think this entire episode, I would say maybe we can pivot it a little bit, because I think the problem today is not that we don't have work-life balance. It's that we don't know what's work and what's life anymore.
Yes. Ayushi, this is it. This is the greatest problem of our dilemma of our generation, I feel.
I think it is, though. I think that is a unique, you're right, it's uniquely an our generation onwards problem. Because
In
I
the
think our
culture of
parents,
everyone having their own business, everyone starting up things,
yes.
everyone wanting to do new things.
And also suddenly, and not suddenly, it's that because we're so hyper and self-aware, we have this need to also satisfy a lot more things on the pyramid that our parents didn't even consider.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you and I want to take time out to be like, no, my mental health requires this time and space. I need to do things like meditation. My creative soul needs to be fulfilled by me having a podcast.
I have to go to pottery. Yes.
Yeah, for me recently, I have to go to pottery because it's a part of now like my peace and my serenity. And those were not things that, say, your father, my father, our mothers, people are listening, their parents actually did. It was more like you go to work, you do your job, and you earn, and you work hard enough that you're earning enough so that you can provide for your family and have a good time with your family. Like people, in fact, used to even do the thing of like, you know what, yeah, maybe I hate my job, but my job has a really good paycheck and I get to travel the world with my family. Yes. And that's why I'm going to do it.
So for those people who figured out what works for them, actually, I have respect for them, who really clearly know this is the work I do, and this is my life. I think a lot of people probably, okay, this I could be wrong, it could be a total generalization, but people who have like stable jobs in larger companies and corporations where responsibility is there, but it's at a maybe more manageable level, or also the boundaries and lines of the job description are clear. So I feel like the corporate world is clean in terms of that structure. But again, I don't know. I've never worked
I
there.
don't think I don't think you're generalizing, but I think there is some truth to that, because we have a lot of friends who do work for not for themselves. They have a proper employer, right?
Yes.
They have very, very systematic time in terms of days off, time off, or etc., etc. And while a lot of them work very hard and they struggle sometimes with that, oh God, it's like 3 a.m. and I'm still working. They do have the idea of like, but I have no more ownership on this once I'm done. That I will walk away from this completely. And it does not, I don't carry it with me. I don't have to take this with me to my next engagement. Whereas the life of an entrepreneur, the life of family business owners, the life of small business owners, the life of people who are
creative
artists,
freelancers.
Exactly, freelancers. At the end of the day, your work is so ingrained with your worth, and your work is so ingrained with the next step of work that you do, whether you're going to have that work or not, that I think it's a different ball game altogether. And there's pros and cons on both sides.
Absolutely.
But
I mean, assuming the life, like the end goal of life is for everybody to live the best possible life they can. I'm guessing that must be
no, of course.
a general end goal for everyone. Ki like अच्छा जीवन जिया, जैसे भी आपने अच्छा जिया.
I didn't stutter. I mean, I didn't, because I don't agree with that. I was like, correct. That's true.
Yeah. So I suppose there are different paths to find that. And obviously the recipe for the balance is going to be different for every human being. But I think the measure of it will be in the way you behave in your close relationships, because those are the people that are going to be able to really see or really experience what it is that you have internalized, be that work challenges or personal life challenges, and then put it out there and project onto the people closest to you.
I didn't quite get what you mean by that.
I'm saying that there's no perfect recipe for work-life balance.
Yeah, I was there. I was with you over there. Yeah.
And I think you as the person who is, say I am person A striving to get said balance. I may be doing what I think is absolutely correct and absolutely right. And work, suppose is very important for me. Am I still able to be joyful, attentive, kind, present in my personal relationships? Who knows? That's why I'm saying in situations like this, I think the people closest to you would be able to point it out
Yes.
to
yes,
you
yes.
and be
Okay,
the
there you
best
go.
judge of where a person is in their work-life balance.
I get that. I now understand what you're saying. And I think that's right. I think that became very evident to us when we were locked down, when we had COVID,
Yes.
when we had 4 different work actually,
schedules.
if you count MC
5.
in it as well, there were 5 different work.
And Ram Janak, so 6.
Yes, Ram Janak's also work. Correct. 6.
He was literally at his job. He was at his employers getting COVID.
Oh God. But there were 5 to 6 people whose day to day you could see, first of all, very different jobs, dynamically different jobs across the board. But everyone's prioritization towards them and how much they wanted to choose pockets of joy, or what you call joy. Oh my God. Actually, if you go on to break this down, it's quite endless.
See, so then the thing that you can't survive in
Scratch
isolation.
what I said.
So you can't be in isolation. There is a community around you. Even if that community
even
around
this-
you.
Okay, so just how we say people can't exist in a vacuum, that everything is in relation to what
Work-life
is around
balance
you.
cannot exist in a vacuum.
Work and life isn't. You're right. Exactly right there. Because I don't think you're able to fundamentally say that if you start working at 5, you have the best work-life balance ever.
No,
It doesn't
because
work
it's
like
different
that.
for different people. Exactly. You could be working till 9 p.m. every day, but you could be like the best. Like you could be like the best partner or parent or sibling or flatmate. Who knows? You could have had some system figured out for yourself where you're able to balance all of these things.
And there are people who are able to walk that line of a very, very demanding work schedule and putting in the time for their personal life and putting in the time for what you consider joy. But then this does beg the question that why have we done this to ourselves where work is not the joy anymore?
No. See, that's the thing. For me, it is. So I'm not the person to comment on this. But because so many people are not following their dreams.
No, but is your work joy every single minute that you're doing it? Because I know for a fact that there are times when you are not joyful about going to shoot. And this is not to say that you're not good at your job, or you're not a professional actor. Rytasha is always on time and literally she's ready. She knows her lines. You're good at what you do. But I'm saying there are times when you yourself have said, this is like F all. Like I'm so frustrated with where we are at today. And
I think that was only when I was doing the TV serial. Those were the days. See, because I was in an environment where I was unhappy. So now if you're unhappy at your job, get out if you can. If not, so then again, the priority is important. Is making money the priority?
For
then
you,
by
if
all
it is,
means,
then
go for it. Go for it, and then see if making money is one's priority. Then mera mental health. This toxic work environment. Yes, you can go to work, complain about it. You can maybe take some steps to try and improve it. If it's not improving, okay, do you look for another job? Do you continue there? What are your options? It is never going to be perfect for anybody. But you need to see what you're doing it for.
Let's take a break here because I actually want to talk about people who give a lot of this advice in terms of work-life balance. Because I think what you and I just said should we take a break now or do we not take a break or just continue?
I think we should have taken a break like 5-10 minutes. Let's take a break. Chal, we'll come back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors this week, thewholetruthfoods.com, PayPal, Cred, and Siat. Thank you so much for working with us. We really appreciate it. First up this week, let me tell you about Cyrus Says. We featured popular YouTuber and actor Prajakta Kohli, who took us through her journey of content creation. We also had conversations with Vasanti Hariprakash and Sachin Kalbag this week. Really great conversations. Do check those out. Vineet Kanabar goes solo this time on Storytellers and Storysellers as he talks about his favorite IPL ads and how brands have been making content around the Cricket League. On The Habit Coach, Ashton was joined by Arjun and Somesh of the Fighting Goat podcast to talk about fitness for combat sports like the mixed martial arts. On Nankari, Sadaf and Archit discussed the diet and lifestyle of athletes with the host of the Millennial Athlete, Shok Ramchandra, who is also a pro badminton player and coach. Ambarana opens the 4th season of Know Your Kanun with a list of things he has planned on the show for us, including episodes on immigration law and on career prospects for law students. The IPL season's on and we've definitely got you covered. Tune in to the Edges and Sledges podcast if you're looking for English, and if you're looking to listen to something in Hindi, definitely check out Khel Neeti. Both are great shows with great takes. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Welcome back.
Welcome. I just actually, what you were saying about, whether you're happy at your job and all of this stuff. So I follow a lot of people on Twitter, right? I'm pretty interested with Twitter, and I spend a lot of time on there. And I don't know whether if anyone listening also has had the same experience, but the people that are really big on Twitter are kind of businessmen, and this is not in like the actors and comedians and creative people sphere. I'm talking about like more
economically.
structured jobs. Yes.
Yes.
People who are like tech evangelists or who are venture capitalists or angel investors. People who have,
Sexy words. They have lots of money.
Yeah, and they've reached a certain level of success. They are about midway in their life, like in their late 30s, early 40s, 50s. Like I'm talking about
They
that
bought and
range.
sold some companies, to say the least.
You have at least sold one company. Okay, these are the people I'm talking about on Twitter.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so whether they're the tech bros,
I love
or
those
they,
people also.
yeah,
Too
and
good.
I follow a lot of them because a lot of them have a good work ethic. They seem to have good managerial sense. Like they have good, their companies show consistent employee development, employee engagement, all of this stuff that you hope that you would be able to inculcate into whatever you work. One thing that I've seen across a lot of these people and reading a lot of their books and autobiographies and all of that stuff is they talk a lot about work-life balance.
Hmm.
And they talk a lot about like, you know what? At some point, you have to draw the line. You can't get me after 4 o'clock and you will not. And I'm like, okay.
But
So-
were you always like that is the question.
That's the thing. And when you read some of these people, like you read like autobiographies of companies that have, or biographies of people who have scaled up massive ideas into mega monumental businesses now. They all worked like insane people when they were younger. It was, when you read how companies like Apple, Amazon, you think of your like FANG companies, like how did they
course,
become so
yeah.
big? It wasn't because the person switched off at 5 o'clock
At
every
4
day
o'clock. वही तो यार.
and said, yeah, exactly.
मतलब मरा के काम कर रहे थे. It was like you are overworked, you are underpaid, you are hustling, you're doing all of those things.
And there was so much failure. There were so many times where they also stopped and they asked themselves, is this worth it? Like, look at what I'm doing. People have, unfortunately, people have lost families in this. They've lost personal relationships. So that was all there. I'm not saying that it was some hunky-dory path to success. But something that always jumps at you is that these people worked like, not to insult dogs, but they worked like dogs when they were younger, when they were coming up, so that they could then enjoy this second phase of life where you're like, now I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let other people do it for me. And I'm just going to potter around. Do you actually, my question is not what you think it's going to be. Do you think that this has actually been a little bit unrealistic sometimes? Because we have this idea that till I'm 35, I'm going to work like a dog. Till I'm...
Are you Ritik from Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara?
Exactly. And then retire at 40. And then I'm going to spend all my time with my family. And I'm going to spend my time traveling. And I'm going to be doing this.
Ko jiyo. Seize the day, my friend.
But do you think that this idea of doing it so much now, and then hopefully it'll work out and I'll have enough to do it late and just chill later.
That's the thing, na? Kal kisne dekha? We can do
It is
all we want right
unrealistic.
now. Yeah. I think it's nuts. But I also at the same time agree that this age of our life, this point where we are,
It's to hustle.
from 22 to 35, post-college to mid-30s, of course, your time is to work.
And no
else?
one's saying don't enjoy the benefits of that work. Like, of course. But
Work hard, play hard.
But I know this episode is all over and I'm not able to give it the right structure because I don't have it.
Because we also are just figuring it out, Ayushi. So there's no way we can have work-life balance. I think so I was in my little bit of research, barely. But Time magazine did an article and they were like, this balance idea is not on.
Mm.
Balance means a state of stasis. So if everything is balanced, what is actually happening? Maybe nothing. They said instead of work and life, the two categories for us to look at that might be more helpful would be love and loathe. And slowly,
Yeah, that's too much because I don't want to put anything in the loathe bucket.
in the loathe category, of course not
That's
Ayushi, but
so
I so love
extreme.
calling MTNL to talk about my Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. That's a loathe bucket. My bucket is overflowing.
Exactly. I love to honk behind in traffic. I love to. So of course not, Ayushi. The loathe bucket is always going to have things in it, and you know this.
You're
I don't
right.
want to put
You're
anything in the loathe bucket. मतलब
No.
कहाँ रहती हो
No.
तुम? कहाँ रहती हो?
No, you're shut up. You're right. I thought loathe in terms of like, oh, I hate doing this. And you know how we've said, right? We want to stop using the word hate because it's so strong and it like these are those things that you're taking for yourself. But you're right. Loathe is that tedium. What is tedious in my life to do what I wish someone else
You loathe
could
it.
be doing? I loathe it.
Correct. So loathe is not even hate. It's just something you don't enjoy doing, I suppose.
Okay, fine.
We
I
put
get
it there.
Yeah.
So Time magazine is to saying that our goal should be to slowly tip everything towards the love category.
Okay.
And
Can we put joy as the category name instead of love? Because I think that some things bring you joy. Maybe you don't love it like crazy, but it brings you joy. So you're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Or you think if something brings you joy, you love it.
See, love is love. Joy comes from love.
Matlab, I have left
I
the
feel.
podcast now.
अब मैं क्या बोलूं? I don't mean like romantic love. Oh, I love something
No,
so
no, of
much,
course,
like
of
crazy.
course.
You don't have to love
Yeah.
something like crazy to feel
To love
loving,
it.
to feel a sense of love towards something. Love is a feeling. Now, this episode is not about love at all. But basically, they're saying you can't always do only what you love, but you can find love in all the other things that you do. I don't know if that even makes sense as a Time magazine. आप क्यों ऐसे मतलब बकवास advice दे रहे हो हमें? इतना बड़ा magazine हो गया ऐसे हमें बता रहे? हमें नहीं पता. We don't know. Every day we are struggling to find joy in cleaning the hair from the drain after a shower. Do you think I love it? Putting my hands in that trainer to pick up my strands of hair which are coated in sedimentary conditioner and shampoo and
what is
soap
that
from
gunk?
yesterday. What is that gunk?
I want to know what it is.
How do I find joy in that? I can't. That is not even this is not even part of the work-life debate. This is just part of life now. ये सारी चीजें just part of life है. As an adult, there is no work-life balance. There is life. Can you stay balanced as you try to do everything?
Oh, that's good. We should have started with this. We should have, okay. When we do the promo for this episode, we are going to tell you to start the episode at minute 35. Okay, then you move backwards because the underlying value add or the lesson from today is basically, I don't think it's possible to have work-life balance. There is nothing like work-life balance. There is just
There
life.
can be emotional, mental, physical balance. That's something in myself I can strive to achieve. What is work-life balance?
Within yourself.
Yes. To be at a somewhat like...
Also, I think like work-life balance, the thing that we're specifically talking about in that generic sense of work-life, that keeps changing, which is another thing that you realize when you look at studies and you look at surveys and stuff that's done. The first thing that's always written is this was for this age bracket, this was in this job metric, this was for people at this level. Now, when you move to a different stage of your life, the entire parameter of gauging this is going to change again because your priorities are different.
Correct.
Because what you value now has changed. What you need has changed. So there isn't an answer to say that, okay, at 29, this is how you do it. But at 31, it's going to be like this. And then exactly at 33, it switches because you're going to have your first kid. So
Correct.
I don't think that there's an answer. I don't think you can say definitively that even at this stage of your life, this is how you should be approaching it. I don't think that works either. And don't you think that there are so many more jobs now than there used to be? Is that a dumb thing to say? It's not. There's just so many more jobs
it's true.
now.
Because of the internet, there are more jobs. There are new jobs being created. For example, Ayushi, you know the job that's been blowing my mind, which little boys are doing?
What?
Hype beasting. Whatever this is, getting kicks from abroad and selling them online.
We know who
This
you're
shit
talking
blows
about.
my mind. No, there are many kids like this. There are many young teenage boys who are in the 14 to 18 age bracket.
What
who
is
are
their
from well-off
work-life
families.
balance?
मैं क्या बोलूं? मैं ये मैं कैसे समझूं? I have no. I'm confused. Like ये जो नौकरी पहले थी नहीं, अचानक ये घुस चुकी है. At an age where children are meant to be in educational institutes, वो लोग इंटरनेट पे अलग हसल चला के पैसा छाप रहे. ऐसा भी नहीं कि ठीक ठाक कमा रहे. No, they are earning better than a normal employee in some office.
Oh, that's another thing that affects my mental life balance is the fact that people
The
make
wage gap.
so much. The wage gap for jobs is unbelievable. And again, this is the internet. The internet has fundamentally changed the way that we value and compensate people for goods and services, right? The
Yes.
entire way of how, you grew up thinking, nahi, kaam means office means salary means PF fund, saving, life insurance, health insurance. Like that is the way you have to approach life and you have to save. You grew up in the 2000s, and I know this sounds like as if I'm aged. I'm not, I'm 29, and I'm still struggling with understanding how hype beast is a thing. But you're seeing people who have launched small businesses on such incredibly minute acts. Like the fact that there is an entire thing of TikTok
कोई सिर्फ
cleaning.
कैंडल बना रहा है. अच्छा हाँ, cleaning. कोई सिर्फ कैंडल बना रहा है. सिर्फ मोमबत्ती बना रहा है. इंस्टाग्राम पे बेच रहा है मोमबत्ती.
And I'm working every day. I get up.
आयुषी तू रोज ऑफिस जाती है. तेरे 1000 व्हाट्सएप काम के ग्रुप है जिसमें कांडला इधर उधर से सब इंफॉर्मेशन भेज रहे हैं. शिप का फोटो. ये बंदी कैंडल बना रही है घर पे.
You're going to make me cry. Because this is not disrespect to the candle maker.
Not at all. We are in awe.
How you did it.
How are you make? Okay, Ayushi, because मैं समझ गई हूँ. The crux of the matter is everybody wants to make money. Full stop. However you do that. Even so many times we've had conversations and we're chilling with friends, and you know which friend I'm referring to. We have one friend who's like, guys, I just want to make money fast. We need to make a lot of money really quickly.
And he's our favorite friend because
He is.
he's asking the one question which everyone is too shy to ask, which is, how do we make money and how do we make it fast?
Literally, make tons of money.
So we can leave. So we can go.
So we can live life.
On travels. But the fact that, yes, I also think, again, coming back to work-life balance, is that today the definition of work has expanded to so much more than what it used to be. These people, when you look at surveys, when you look at studies, when you look at these reports, and you look at psychologists in all these big universities that have been studying stress and anxiety and the connection to job-related stress, they're always studying careers and options which are so much more generic and structured. Or let's not even call it generic. They're jobs which have existed for a really long time. Like you're thinking of finance, you're thinking of medicine, you're thinking of law, you're thinking of, trade, and you're thinking of, you understand the industries that I'm referring to right now. The fact that you have something called the creator economy now, the fact that you have the internet, which has not only leveled people, but it has globalized the reach of a business. Like the fact that your website designer can be sitting in Sydney and the person who does your accounts could technically be sitting in Lucknow. It has changed the game, right? So even the idea of work-life balance to open up the idea of what is work-life balance suddenly, I don't think we have the resources, or we don't even have the know-how, because we don't even know there are people making work out of things that we did not consider worthy professions.
Work. Yeah.
We didn't think of it as work. We didn't allow people to gain employment and self-worth and ambition and joy from certain things because it was written off as secondary. It was written off as not good enough as a job. Like, you're an artist. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to paint? Is that how you're going to make? Yeah, mother effers. He's painting and he's selling his stuff on Instagram and the dude is living life.
So listeners, what we're saying is
Sell
find
shoes.
something you love and find a way to make money from that online. If
Yeah.
you are not inclined to, say, doing a more traditional career path of just ठीक है MBA कर लिया फिर job and all of that.
Listen,
say if you're
one
not
second. There's
interested in
nothing
that.
wrong with any of those things. What we're trying to say
Arre,
is
not
that
at
work-life
all.
balance. I think what we're basically saying is that first of all, work-life balance is not something that you
Possible.
can. It's not possible.
I don't think it exists.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think
shouldn't be something one is striving for either.
because in striving for that, you're stressing yourself out more. I think, frankly. Secondly, it's very okay that if in your mid-20s to your mid-40s, you don't have a lot of time on your hands because you seem to be working a lot. I'm going to go out there and say it's okay.
I
Like,
absolutely agree.
This is the time in your life that you should be hustling. So even if that means you're doing 10 things to figure it out or to figure what exactly it is that's calling to you, do them. Do all 10. Have those sleepless nights. You know, people who say that, oh, I don't recommend doing this. I don't. Who are you, man? You do what you have to do now. I'll do what I'm doing. Some
Yes,
days I have to
well,
work a lot. Some days I don't have to
yes.
work. Now, F it.
Yes, you just be healthy and don't harm anybody.
That's baseline. But the third thing I think that what we were talking about is also the fact that today work doesn't look like what work looked like 30 to 40 years ago. It
Yeah,
just
it's
doesn't.
totally different. Absolutely.
So if you're gauging yourself based on a
for the
metric of
young,
that,
educated Indian.
right, and I'm assuming that is a lot of who is listening to us.
Yes.
I think we do need to stop gauging or judging yourself based on that line. You have to come up with a new way of doing it for yourself. What works for you because your profession is now incredibly personalized and so individual. The fact that there are concepts like something like a Substack where anyone can decide that I want to now become a writer and I'm going to put my work out there, and if someone likes it, they're going to pay for it. And you're no longer beholden to the idea of submitting it to an
Having
editor.
to, yeah,
Look,
publishing books and all of that.
I think there's some editorial oversight that's required in most things that is written. So that is the drawbacks of something like Substack, which is
Correct.
everyone knows. But you have now a platform, the opportunity to do something like this, which didn't happen before. So there are people that we know who have 3 different sources of incomes because they have what you and I would call a normal job, and then they do stuff on the side. They're like, yeah, I also write and I also make earrings that I sell, and they sell.
Love it.
So if that's what you're up to, cool. And if you don't...
Is Ayushi frozen or is my internet bad? Ayushi is totally frozen. Ayushi is frozen.
Am I back?
In and out.
Is the internet gone?
Yeah, you're back now.
Is the
I think you're
internet
back
gone?
now.
All of it. I hate it.
As she glitches, she says all of these things.
I'm addicted. Give
Oh
me
my
more
god,
internet.
Ayushi has gone. Is she here? Is she... Ayushi, come back.
I just want
Anyway.
to say that the
Yes.
internet doesn't help my work-life balance either. It is causing me a lot of stress. And before this gets cut out, make sure this is part of the episode. The internet is ruining my life. All of it. I hate
I
it.
hope so.
I can't live without it. I'm addicted.
I mean,
Give me more
within
internet.
reason. They can snip off bits of it. They can keep some
Give me
parts
more
of it. Yeah, you're
internet.
better now. Are you like playing with your eyebrows? Okay, excellent.
I'm here.
Yeah, so where were we? Where did you get cut off? You were saying some important stuff, and then anyway.
No, I was just trying to do a wrap up. But yeah, I just think that I was doing a wrap up of what the value add or what the lessons from this episode were for me. But I think the main one was that
She's giving her monologue, but
I
she's
just
stuck
feel like
on
I'm
mind.
repeating myself. There isn't anything like work-life balance. I think it's just about defining what works for you. And as long as you feel like you have the time to give to the things that are important in your life, which I fundamentally think are your work, your friends, your family, your partner, your children, and your body.
Yeah. And what I would like to say in closing, if Ayushi is done with her speech, is there's a set pattern of what society expects from people at different stages and ages of life. So, yeah, you're 22, you've just gone out of college. Of course, the expectation is for you to find a job and then in your personal time to do whatever you want, hang out with friends. Then, as you get older, the life part of it becomes find a partner. Then, as you get older, the life part of it becomes, yeah, of course, go do your job, but also have a child.
Yeah.
So the life expectations from society will keep changing. But I can't stress upon this that the most important thing you can do for yourself, dear listener, I'm talking to each and every one of you, is make enough money for yourself. Be financially independent as in what, like, as so, oh my God, just make your own money and save some of it for yourself. You need to have a fund for everything, for everyone. Take care of yourself in every possible way. You will hopefully be balanced or hopefully be striving for that balance we speak of within yourself. Not necessarily with work and life, but between your head and your heart, at least.
So basically, just tell everyone to start this episode at the back of the episode and go backwards.
But thank you for listening to us. If you liked it, you know what to do. You can listen to podcasts like this and many others on the IVM podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts. I am at RYTASH on Instagram. And Ayushi is stuck, but she is at AyushiA9 on Instagram and at just Ayushi.
And if you're lost and you feel like you're looking for something to do, don't start a podcast. It's a huge commitment.
Thank you so much for sending emails last week. Those of you who did, we were very much moved. Ayushi, you are not moving. You're frozen. Thank you. Thank you, friends. Love you all. And I love you, Ayushi. Bye.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Working Monday to Friday glued to your chair making you feel dull? Worry not. Get your 5-minute weekly dose of travel around the world with Postcards from Nowhere. Join me every Thursday as I explore the strange, obscure, and fascinating parts of the world and bring out facets of travel you may not have thought of before. You can find us on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.